Good morning from SFG Top Performance. I'm Mark, and with us today are regulars Jason, Derrick, and Charles. Have a lot of good information to cover today, so let's start it right off with the importance of good pre-corn and soybean herbicides, Jason.
Yes, this year more than ever, a good pre is important to get down in front of your crops. I look at this, especially in the dicamba world. You know, it's in such legal litigation that we need to keep weeds from emerging. So if we put a good pre down with several modes of action and keep the weeds from emerging, and then layer it with another residual, partway through the season, if we're able to apply dicamba at that time, we'll keep our weeds down, and it won't be a problem if there is a problem with dicamba. But also, we need our corn and in our other soybean products. There isn't a lot of new products on the horizon to take over if we have some tolerance or resistance problems. So we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to keep weeds from coming up and keep that from being a problem. And that's vital for our yield. Every time there's a patch of weeds in the field, that's taking bushels out of our pocket and dollars out of our pocketbook. So we need to make sure we're doing a good job of putting several modes of action down and layering it with residuals to keep them weeds down. And that's one thing that we need to do early in the season. And another thing when we're planning, to help our yields and help us be as profitable as we can be, there's a lot of starter fertilizers that we can use. I'm going to talk a little bit about dry modes in corn, and then Derrick's going to talk a little bit about some liquids, I believe. And I have one customer that's using some dry starter, which is it's kind of a high maintenance type way to go, but he's putting his total corn fertilizer in a 2x2 band in his corn. And I don't know if I recommend this for every situation, but this is doing great for yields. And there's always fertilizer there. Micronutrients are right there. There's zinc there to help the root growth. And we have sulfur, and everything's right there in a 2x2 band. So the corn is always getting products and nutrients, and it's being well fed to get a top yield at the end of the season. We have several other options. There's ASA and some liquid fertilizers. Derrick, do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, you bet. So one product I'm going to talk about a little bit today that we've had really good luck with is our starter fertilizer in corn that we've run a lot of. Is called Riser. What it is, it's a liquid fertilizer mix that has NPK and a whole group of micronutrients. It's a 7-17-3 for NPK, so it's heavy on the phosphorus, which is really important to get that corn popped up out of the ground really quick. We've seen really good luck with it. Early season in cooler, wet soils, and you can visibly see the difference. It pops the corn out of the ground quicker. It's a more even stand. It's more robust, and it really gets those roots started to be able to, find the other nutrients in the soil and find the nitrogen, and really just gives it a jump start. We've seen really good yield benefits from it. We've got multiple tests that, they show it's a range, but it always pays. And we can see the yield benefits in that with the starter fertilizer. So if you have the capability on your planter, it's definitely something to look at, and it's the easiest way to add value there, and you always see a really good benefit in corn. The last 2 years on soybeans, even we've tried some starter fertilizer trials, and we've seen the same visible results to where we could see the height difference in soybeans. We could see the darker green. We could see the more robust plants. We haven't necessarily seen that translate to yield yet, so we're still looking at it, but it's not something that I'm recommending across the board to put with soybeans. It's probably more tailored for kind of like if we treat soybeans like we do with the seed treatments or the Levo. The earlier you plant in the cooler soils probably has the better benefit from it. We just haven't seen it translate to yield, but we definitely see the crop health benefits. And anytime you're improving the crop health, you're making soybeans more robust, you're giving it more chance to yield. So it's definitely something to look at if you already have the capability on corn. Put some trials out there, see what it does, put it on the field that's early, and you probably see really good benefit. Rates that we usually use anywhere between 2 to 5 gallon an acre. I like the 2-gallon rate, especially. You get about 5 pounds of phosphorus with that. It's not enough to replace dry fertilizer, but you get a really good just initial shock to the roots, essentially, to just get the plant going and get to the other nutrients in the soil. Like I said, it's not going to replace the broadcast fertilizer. And Jason, what is kind of we were talking about it earlier this week. What is kind of your best recommendation for broadcast fertilizer, or do these banding or do these starter fertilizers replace a 2-year spread, or how much should we be broadcasting out there?
As far as a starter replacing a starter is to get your pop up. So it's your initial growth and just basically to help your plant start, make it even, make it pop up and green and grow faster initially. So I don't like to replace a lot of fertilizer with this pop-up starter. But as far as, when you're broadcasting fertilizer, we definitely need to make sure we're keeping a maintenance rate down for your field's projected yields. And right now I hear a lot of guys, I need to buy a tractor or something because corn's $13, but I'm only going to make one payment on this $13 and then corn might be $5. So what do I do? Well, or it might be $3 instead of $5. So what do I do? Well, my answer to them is, well, put fertilizer down. That's going to pay you for a long period of time. I don't recommend going way overboard and putting enough down that it's going to cause soil and water problems, because we don't want to add any more to the water pollution problem that's already there. But make sure we're applying enough to build our soil bank a little bit and make sure that we're, fertilizer is going to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to attach to soil particles. So it's going to stay there for a long period of time. So, I'm not going to give a particular rate because everybody has a different soil test value on their field. So I think that's very critical that we use that to make sure we're not going overboard to add more to the any water pollution problems. But yet we need to make sure that we're filling that, and the crop is going to get a full charge of nutrients, and that's not going to be our limiting factors. And why if you have some extra money, put it onto fertilizer, because that's going to help in future years and build that soil bank for the year that we might not have quite as flush of cash. And then we don't have to worry about making that tractor payment next year because you've got the fertilizer paid for it. It's already on the ground. But that might help you make your tractor payment next year. You're going to have more bushels and more product, and everything's going to be there to help with that. So
I have a question for you on that.
Yes.
When you're talking about your soil and you're using whether it's a pop-up starter or row starter you're using, will that affect your soil tests when you're out sampling the field? You need to sample it different than what you would normally, or what steps do you have to go through with that? If you could bring some information to that.
I've always tested soil probably a little different than some do. I take a 30-inch section and I test 30 inches apart and once in the middle. And that takes into account for the rows. And if you use a starter fertilizer and it's blending it all together. But no, a starter fertilizer isn't going to add a lot of nutrients to the soil. It's just a pop up and most of it's going to be used right away to help that plant get started. But I do test in 3 different spots whenever I test, 30, 15, and 30, to make sure that we're taking into account any rows that might be there. And if there would be any left over, that would test that for the starter effect.
Charles, could you give us an update on the equipment and the operations and what's going on today?
I would love to say we're doing a lot of application here, but for some reason there's a lot of snow cover. We're getting prepared. Weather-wise, it's looking like it's going to be a while, but we're working on some sprayers, just a little bit maintenance on side. We're painting on some booms. Not any major work getting done. Doing a lot of sprayer training and getting everybody prepared for the spring.
Derrick, can you update us on seed availability?
You bet. So this year we're sitting really good on seed. We've been putting the plans together this year, making sure we have all the seed in the shed, and we're sitting really good. There are a handful of things that we weren't able to get this year, just like normal, but I probably have less than 15 bags that we weren't able to get what the customer wanted right now. So we're sitting really good. Just a few weeks here and there. As we go forward with the guys that haven't made decisions yet, there are things that are starting to get tight. They're really the hybrids that everybody wants, they're starting to become more available. And the ones that build the package, more of the economical ones, they're becoming more unavailable. So we have to take that into consideration and use what we have to make the best package. So it's definitely something, if you haven't put the plan together, you want to get in with your agronomist and to be able to get the best hybrid. One important thing that we like to do is we don't just sell you the seed and say, all right, go plant it wherever you want. We really sit down and we plan where that hybrid goes. And if for some reason something changes and we feel that there's a field that, hey, we can't put that one there, even though that worked really good last year, we got to change it to this hybrid because of XYZ. You know, we have that information and we spend a lot of time looking at that. Then in the season, we're out in the field. Our seed customers get about the same full service scouting, you could say, as the chemical customers. It's not 100% the same, but we're out in the field with the customers we sell seed to, and that's one important thing that we can add a lot of value out in that field. It's another set of eyes. It's multiple times across, and we're finding issues there before they become real big issues, you could say. And that's one difference that us Smith Fertilizer and Grain that we had, even past just the seed customers, the ones we're spraying chemicals for. We have a full service crop scouting program where we're out in the field. You know, we shoot for 3 to 4 times at minimum throughout the year, where when we can, we take a 4-wheeler across it to see all the corners, all the edges, and we find those problems before either anyone else does or before they're huge issues that can't be controlled. So that's one really important thing that we take care of for the farmer. The farmer doesn't have to be out in the field all the time. One really good example I have is on the way to work, there was a field that we didn't work with, but it had a shatter cane issue. And shatter cane is something relatively easy to control once you find it, but you have to get out in the field and know where or know what it is and know how to control it. And you have to have a set of eyes out there. We can get it pretty easy with a post application of our chemical program. So that's something we can provide so we don't see these big, tall weed disasters. And Jason, do you have anything to add on the crop scouting side?
The only thing I have to add is, you know, if I was reading Mark's blog this week, he had something in there about crop scouting and get the feet out in the field to actually look at the ground and look at what's there. And, you know, Mark's blog pretty much summed it up very well. If you guys want to look at that as well, this last week about our crop scouting program, and it went into, you know, how to grow a good corn crop and how to make it get as much yield out of it as you could. And that summed it up very well, getting your feet out there and having somebody out there in your field to look at it, take care of you. And that's vital to surviving today. So Mark, you.
Yeah. And as we talk here, we talk about change. And if you talk about change, read Max's article that he always puts in the newsletter. It's always change. But yet, when we talk to the customer, it's the way we've always done it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that phrase. As someone who grew up on a farm, I understand how difficult change can be. I do. You know, trying something new might seem risky, but these disruptive times demand that we change how we work to best defend the profitability potential of our farms. So how do you make changes with confidence? The answer is sound data, expert advice, and state-of-the-art technology. As technology can be intimidating, I get it. And trying to decipher relevant data from noise isn't always easy. But when we marry the science of farming, the data, the equipment, and the ag tech tools with the art of farming, we can build a strong foundation for making profitable decisions. You can work with your SFG agronomist to build a plan for how you operate today and then build on the plan over time. I want to thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the business with Smith Fertilizer and Grain. I appreciate everything you do for us, customers that are out there, and we hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you.